You want to hear something unbelievable? I mean, the kind of story where if you told me a year earlier what happened, I would have laughed in your face. Or maybe thrown a chair. But here we are. Let me paint this for you. I walk into my own house after 18 months in Afghanistan. I'm talking desert dust still clinging to my boots, sand hiding in the seams of my pockets. I step into my kitchen, and there's a woman I've never seen before standing at my stove, frying eggs in my late grandmother's cast iron skillet. And it doesn't stop there. There's a man kicked back on my couch, shoes off, feet up like he's paid the mortgage for years. 2 kids at my table, cereal spoons frozen halfway to their mouths, staring at me like I'm the intruder. All of it, my house, my kitchen, my memories. Ever have reality tilt sideways on you? So I ask, who are you people? And the woman turns, calm as can be, looks me straight in the eye and says, "Excuse me, sir, but you're trespassing." Like I'm the one out of line. She even waves a lease in my face with my address printed neat and bold. Her husband just shrugs. The kids, God bless them, look ready to sprint. Then I hear heels clicking from the front door, sharp against hardwood, followed by the cloud of heavy perfume. Margaret. Of course it's Margaret. White Lexus parked in my driveway. Designer purse dangling off her arm, like it cost more than my first car. "Jake, you're back early," she says, cool as ice. Abandonment requires proper HOA procedures. Abandonment. That's what she calls 18 months of getting shot at overseas. I stare at her, really stare, and for the first time in months, I grin, because in that second, I know Margaret has absolutely no idea who she just picked a fight with. By tomorrow, this entire neighborhood is going to learn what happens when you try to steal from the wrong soldier. But let me rewind and give you the full picture. Maybe you met a Margaret before, the type who measures your lawn with a ruler, who sends HOA emails if your Christmas lights are still glowing on January 3rd. 52 years old, white Lexus SUV that smells like nervous sweat and fake vanilla air fresheners. She's been HOA president 6 years straight, mostly because nobody else wanted the headache. Looking back, that was mistake number 1. Margaret used to sell real estate until the state revoked her license for what they politely called creative contract interpretations. Translation? She lied. Foundation cracks covered with throw rugs. Flood damage marketed as charming character. Her commission checks somehow always heavier than the paperwork allowed. The courthouse steps knew the sound of her heels better than most people did. After her divorce, she kept the biggest house on the block. Mediterranean style, overloaded with stucco. From the street, it looked like success. But Instagram-ready living costs money, and alimony only stretches so far. When those checks dried up, she needed a new revenue stream. Enter me. I'm Jake, 3rd-generation Army. Lost my parents in a car wreck when I was young. Bounced between foster homes until I enlisted at 18. Bought this place at 28 with a VA loan. Nothing flashy. 3-bedroom ranch, but it was mine. Every nail hammered. Every wall painted by my own hands. Weekends spent in the garage rebuilding old motorcycles. The air always smelled like motor oil and something close to hope. So when deployment orders came for Afghanistan last January, I handled everything. Mortgage on auto pay. Utilities covered. HOA dues paid months ahead. I even sat through the January HOA meeting and told the board about my deployment. Margaret nodded, scribbled notes, asked who'd mow the lawn, acted concerned. Should have seen the warning signs right there. But hindsight has perfect vision. My neighbor, Mrs. Fiona, 70 years old, bakes snickerdoodles that could solve wars, agreed to watch the place and collect my mail. 3 months in, my grass grew a little tall. Instead of asking Mrs. Fiona if she needed help, Margaret slapped a bright violation notice on my front door. Big neon thing that probably left glue behind. No response, because emailing from a combat zone isn't exactly convenient. So she escalates, digs up an old HOA bylaw about abandoned property, claiming if you don't notify the board, the home can be managed for community's benefit. Funny how my deployment paperwork mysteriously vanished from the meeting minutes. By June, she's got my house listed on Craigslist for $2,800 a month. Moves in a family. Maria, a nurse with exhaustion written all over her face. Her husband, Carlos, Firm handshake, honest eyes. Twins Sophia and Diego who laughed like the world had never hurt them. Margaret fed them some foreclosure fairy tale. Produced forged documents. Whatever it took. Pocketed $8,000 straight into her personal account, while I was halfway across the planet missing home. For 4 months, Margaret treated my house like an ATM. But deployments end, and I didn't come home empty-handed. I walked straight into the HOA office, carrying the kind of paperwork you only get stamped in a war zone. Dropped my deployment orders, bank statements, proof every bill was paid. Let 18 months of bottled rage speak for me. Margaret's office smelled like artificial vanilla and desperation. She forced a smile. "Jake, what a surprise." Sweet as syrup. I slid the documents across her desk. "Care to explain why strangers are living in my house?" She shuffled through files, produced envelopes, claimed she'd mail me notices about a 90-day abandonment clause. Postmarks looked fresher than that morning's coffee. "See, in Afghanistan you learn to spot fake paperwork fast. Ink shades don't match. Dates that should align don't. These are forged," I tell her. "That's a serious accusation," she replies, still smiling like she's in control. She figured I'd swallow it and move on. Big mistake. For the next 2 days, I camp out at the county records office, digging through old file boxes. My granddad used to say, "Paper trails don't lie. People do." Turns out Margaret never filed a single official abandonment form. None of the rental money appears in HOA records. That so-called 90-day clause exists nowhere except inside Margaret's imagination. I gathered everything and took it straight to a lawyer, Sarah Rodriguez, Veterans Legal Aid. Sarah studies my evidence like she's holding a royal flush, laying each document out in perfect order. "This isn't just fraud," she says, tapping her pen against the table. "This is forgery, theft, and a direct violation of the Service Members Civil Relief Act. Prosecutors love cases as clean." Now, if Margaret had even a shred of common sense, she would have gone quiet, kept her head down. But that's not how she's wired. She doubles down. Suddenly Maria's getting cited for warming up her car before an early hospital shift. Carlos gets written up for changing his oil in the driveway. Margaret's trying to push out the only witnesses who can expose her scam. Then she goes nuclear. Blasts an email to the entire neighborhood calling me an unstable veteran. Says I'm paranoid. Dangerous. Even accuses me of spying. Includes photos of me standing on my own property, like that's proof of something sinister. What Margaret didn't factor in was Mrs. Fiona. Sweet little 70-year-old with cookie tins and a backbone made of steel. She forwards that email to every military family on the block with a simple note. "This woman is lying about Jake." I saw everything. My phone started exploding. Tom, a Marine who lives 3 houses down, calls me. "We've got your 6, brother." Within hours, Margaret's little kingdom starts cracking at the foundation. Neighbors apologize. Offers of help pour in. And that's when Margaret gets desperate. 8 o'clock that night. She shows up at my door clutching a cashier's check. $5,000. Makeup smeared. Hands trembling. "Let's resolve this quietly," she says. I look at the check and laugh. "You stole 11 grand from a deployed soldier, violated federal law, and you think 5,000 fixes it." And here's the best part. She confesses right there on my porch. My brand new security system catches every word. I hand the check back. "Keep your blood money. I want every stolen dollar, damages, a public apology, and your resignation." Her face cycles through colors like a malfunctioning mood ring. Panic sets in. Next move? Intimidation. She hires a private investigator. Some bargain bin detective parked outside in a rusty Honda, snapping pictures with a camera older than I am. Margaret thinks she can dig up dirt, flip the narrative. What she doesn't know is my old squad leader Tony's in town. Guy ran counterintelligence in Iraq. Tony starts messing with the PI's head. Buys zip ties, duct tape, plastic sheeting at Home Depot. Makes sure the guy sees it. Next thing we know, the PI is calling the cops convinced we're plotting something. Police show up. Find Tony under my sink fixing a leak. Me organizing tools. Nothing illegal. Margaret gets a warning for harassment. Turns out her PI isn't even licensed. Still, she won't quit. Daily emails now labeling me a terrorist. But this neighborhood isn't the same one she ruled before. 3 new military families have moved in. Tom organizes a support network. Mrs. Fiona gathers intel on her morning walks like she's running reconnaissance. Margaret's smear campaign slams into a brick wall, so she tries forging legitimacy. Backdates HOA meeting minutes. Invents fake board votes approving her abandoned property rental program. Figures she can manufacture authority. Except real records exist, and they say none of it happened. Then she snaps. 2 in the morning, my security system pings. Motion in the garage. I check the feed. Margaret, in yoga pants, creeping around, stuffing something behind my motorcycle lift. Cameras catch everything. She planted a bag of crushed Adderall, probably hoping to discover it during an HOA inspection. I call the cops. They arrive. Margaret plays innocent, until the officer replays the footage on a body cam. Ma'am, you're under arrest for breaking and entering, planting evidence, and attempting to frame a veteran. The cuffs click shut loud and final. Mascara streaking down her face. For the first time, she looks scared. You'd think that would end it. Not with Margaret. From jail, she tries to buy me off. Her lawyer offers $25,000 if I drop the charges and sign an NDA. I laugh and tell him he can use that NDA as toilet paper in federal prison. Sarah forwards the offer straight to the DA. Witness tampering. Another charge added. Then comes the real bombshell. Digging through old correspondence, I find a letter Margaret sent to the HOA's attorney before I even deployed. She'd asked if she could manage my home while I was overseas. The attorney replied plainly, absolutely not. That would be criminal trespass and grand theft. She did it anyway. She planned it before I ever left for Afghanistan. I wasn't a neighbor to her. I was a profit margin. It gets worse. On her laptop, investigators uncover a spreadsheet. Every military family in the neighborhood listed, deployment dates, property values, vulnerability ratings, elderly residents labeled confused or isolated, frequent travelers flagged as low presence. My name bolded at the top. 18-month deployment confirmed. Perfect target. I felt sick reading it. Margaret hadn't just stolen from me. She'd been bleeding the entire community. Fake repair fees, insurance scams, inflated special assessments, elderly neighbors, deployed families, anyone unlikely to fight back. But arrogance has a habit of documenting itself. She kept meticulous records. So much evidence that federal investigators called a textbook case. Racketeering, mail fraud, wire fraud, the whole list. After her second arrest, this time for violating bail conditions when she was caught at 3 a.m. loading her car with cash and files. The FBI steps in. They find $47,000 in cash, boxes of forged invoices, detailed victim lists. Her own attorney quits. Margaret goes to the local news, claiming she's the real victim. The reporter digs deeper and airs a brutal expose instead. Her mugshot spreads nationwide. Her name becomes a cautionary tale. At the restitution hearing, she's led in wearing cuffs. I stand at the front with Sarah. Evidence stacked high. Neighbors tell their stories. Mrs. Patterson paid $1,200 for a roof repair that never happened. Tom nearly lost his house while deployed in Iraq. The Garcia family overcharged for landscaping that was never done. Every testimony lands like a hammer blow. The prosecutor reads the charges. 17 felonies. 15 years federal time. Asset forfeiture. Lifetime ban from serving on any HOA board. And here's the twist. My case sparks legislative change. The Military Family Protection Act. Real federal safeguards for deployed service members. Tougher penalties for HOA abuse. Margaret goes to federal prison. Her house is seized and eventually purchased by a young Marine couple. Her once pristine Lexus sits on a used car lot with a sticker that reads, formerly owned by a federal inmate. Even the local park gets unofficially nicknamed Margaret Park, so no one forgets. But the real victory isn't the sentence. It's what happened after. Restitution funds helped the Rodriguez family buy their own place. Sarah launches a nonprofit supporting military families facing HOA corruption. The neighborhood transforms. from Margaret's kingdom into a real community. We hold an annual festival honoring deployed service members now. Justice wasn't just punishment. It was a reset. Sometimes late at night, I sit on my porch with a beer, listen to kids laughing down the street, the hum of engines from my garage, and I just breathe. Margaret thought she could win because she believed soldiers and seniors were easy prey. She forgot something important. Some fights you simply can't win, especially against people who never leave a brother behind. So let me ask you, have you ever dealt with someone who thought a little authority made them untouchable? What did you do? Drop your story below, because there's a Margaret in every HOA, every office, every block. And sometimes all it takes is one person saying enough to bring them down.